Hello, good afternoon. How are you? I think everyone fine. So today we are studying here about the new topics in a network address translation. So now I'm let's the screen share my screen and we discuss just few slides. Okay. So I display my screen. Okay. Okay. I think so everyone visual my screen. Okay. So today we are talking about the new topics about the network security. So I've already tell you everyone, I'm the senior network security analyst. And the today topic is network address translations. Translation means you address translate from public to private. Okay. So the first slides is so the what is a network? What is a network address translation? Network address translation means to access the internet from one public IP address is needed, but we can use a private address in our private network. So everyone to uses the internet access and everything to know the internet working on public address, not to private address. Okay. So this I saw my screen. Uh, My laptop receiving the IP is a private address. Okay, this is a private address. So my machine is not interact with it directly from internet. So internet require the public address. So public address who assign our ISP. Okay, so the public address only one address to hit in my routers, and router provide the DHCP dynamic host configuration protocol. DSP server to provide to send the IP address on respective on the local network computers. Okay, so in this picture you have to you is seeing now this is the router is ISP is a internet resources, and this is my Wi-Fi router, and Wi-Fi router one side is a public address which is provided by the ISP. Okay, and another side is a private address, that is all the computer receiving the private address from this through DHCP services. Okay, so is private address is not routable on the public networks. So the private address unable to be access the internet, but NAT service is held to be interact private address to public address. So NAT is one of the service which transfer your packet from private address to private public address. So everyone receiving the IP address privately, and NAT is held to be send the packet in outside via NAT through on the public address. So whenever try to come, if whenever another person try to come in my networks, so they are not to come because the outsider person only know the public address, not to private address. Okay, so that means now I'm coming your networks. So in my networks is a public address reachable in outside the world, but private address not routable, no. So another person unable to know what is the actually IP address of private local networks. Okay, so NAT is it basically translate the address from network to private to public address. Okay, so that is one type of security. No, so if outside a person unable to know my public private address, so they are not to come my networks. So that is one of the good sign for network securities, and there is a public address. Okay, public. So to access the internet, one public IP address is needed, but we can use private IP address. Okay, in our private network. So now think about it. One, if you buy the public address, and public address is costly, and I think so maybe one public address price maybe 2000 per month. So in our organization have more than 5 or 10 or 15 computers, and 50 computers require the internet access. So the company to buy the 50 computers for accessing the internet, so maybe company the cost beer will be high in a in of the months. Okay, approx 50,000 50 computers. But NAT service is provided facilities, particularly one IP address to translate the all the private address in a public via NAT translate. That is network address translation. And these technologies come in our home broadband routers. Okay, without broadband routers, we are multiple person will not to be access the internet on the same time from one link of the internet. Okay, I think so everyone to understand what is a NAT meanings. Okay, the idea of NAT is to allow multiple devices to access the internet through a single public address. Okay, to achieve this, this translation of private address to public IP address is required. Without public address, you are not to be connect any public website, because the public website to work on public address. Okay, so network address translation NAT translations is a process in which one or more local IP address is translated into one or more global address. So just imagine this is my switch, and the switch have a connected multiple machines. It's maybe server 1, server 2, server 3. Okay, like this types of all the server is connected from this switch. But I want to, whenever come any outside user to access my server, they are receiving repeatedly change the addresses. So that is one of the securities. If the outsider person to detect my server original IP address, so my security threat and risk zone will be so high, because IP will be statically will be assigned. So hackers to be kept to save the IP address, and rest of the time he attack my machines. But the outsider person every time to reach on my server, they receive the again and again different types of address is automatically receiving. So that is one of the securities. It is happened by the DNAT. We'll discuss in later DNAT, dynamic NAT. So in this way, which one or more local IP address is translated into one or more global IP address. Understood? Global IP address means public address. So the multiple requests come in my server, and every request receives a unique IP address. So that means my server is safe, and the another person unable to know what is the actual IP of this server. So that is a very good securities for your network. uh, Security happens. Okay, so vice versa in order to provide internet access to the local host. So these types of services is widely used in any ISP server. Okay, so just I need to be discuss how the IP ISP work through NAT services. Okay, so I explain in MS Paint too, so easily to understand. Just a minute. Okay, so look at that. This is the ISP routers. Okay, and this is ISP of switch. This is ISP switch, and there are lots of clients accessing internet from these networks, from these routers. So routers to send one public address. So this is a one public address. Okay, the how many users are connected from one public address? Example of 103.89.168.2. This is one of the public address. This public address to be transmit the internet, but in another side, the total number of user here approx uh, this thing is 3000. Okay, 3000 of user is here. So 3000 number is a big number of this number of clients, but I saw the demo, not actually. Okay, so bandwidth is very critical part. If your number of user increase, so bandwidth is not be sufficient. So always keep your mind how number of computer will be allocated from internet coming from one public IP. So as this number is reduced, 254 using the number. Just a minute. 254 numbers. Total number of users is 254. Okay. So 254 users directly access the internet via this IP. Via this IP. Okay. So everyone receiving the internet from this number. Okay, only one public address to be allocate the internet access 254 clients of users. Okay, so the outsider person ISP to know only one person access the internet, but in a local site, in this site, total number of users 254. Okay, so 254 users directly access the internet from public IP. So if 254 users, if one person to be to access the some unspecific site, that is not a good site for accessing on his networks. So the outsider person to know the suspicious things, suspicious attacks come from this public IP, not to private IP. Okay, so in this private addressing 254 number of computers, so 254 number users are to be risk zone because the attackers to come from this public IP, and this public IP access total number of user 254. Okay, so that is the part of the risk section and security section also. So before you apply the NAT service on your local networks, so keep your mind how number of users access internet from particular one IP address. Okay, so that is a NAT, and it is possible via NAT service. Okay, so that is a security purpose. And second things, and we have another routers, and this router is my private address, and this is the networks of server. This is one of the server, and another server, and the server. So outside is the another side network. Outsiders come in my networks. So he wants to try to access on particular server. Okay. So in this router, in this router, just a minute. Okay, this outsider is come my networks. Okay. So in this router, I apply one of the policy. This is my private network address, and that is a range 2 dash 103 189 168 and 60. So this is this is a public address. Okay, and the three computers receiving the IP statically from this network zone. Okay, and when outsider persons try to access this computer, his IP is 2, 3, and 4. So they are receive from this IP address. Okay, so if try to ping from here two computers, they reply randomly any numbers from this network, like maybe three. So original IP is hide, but they are receiving which IP, that is netted IP, and netted IP is not be configured on your local network. So that is one of the best securities, and your server to go in outside. So the IP based of securities. Okay, NAT is one of the IP based of security. Okay, I think so. Understand everyone. Okay, so one of the services is a port service, PAT. Port is a port address translation PAT, that is called a PAT. With port address translation, is a single public IP address is used for all internal private address. Okay, but a different port is assigned to each private IP addresses. This type of NAT is also known as NAT overload, and it's the typically form of NAT used in two-day networks. Okay, so port also is a port address translator. Port translates a particular one port to receive all types of traffics. So in this picture, this is a one of the port, and all the traffic come in this port. Okay, and when you go in outside, the traffic will be travel from this port. So that is a default port. All the traffic comes in this port, then traffic reach another side. So without this, if this port is filled, the traffic will not to be traveled, and the traffic is stopped on router 1 till not go to outside. So this type of port address translations. The port address translation, that means this is a main my port address, main port IP. This is all the IP is here. This is my gateway, and the different types of network IDs. So that is called a port. To single port, all the traffic is passed. If single port is filled, the network traffic will not to go. That is a port address translation. In this scenario, uh, the port capacity should be high because the traffic will come from multiple number of networks. So the traffic curve is to go from particular one ports. So traffic will be high on the ports. So that is the issue. So port related traffic packet loss issues, because the number one of ports to handle the number of huge number of client requests. So that is happen the port address translation. If you think to design such type of network, so first keep your mind what is a port capacity of speed. If your port capacity is at 100 Mbps of bandwidth carrier traffic, so and your traffic will come from outsider at a minimum 2 GB of traffic. So that the issue is a problem. Packet loss will be facing the issues on running networks, and uh, our customer experience low level of internet accessing. So the little bit problem, keep your mind before you implement pack service on your networks. Okay. So why is it so important NAT implement in our organizations? Okay. First, IP address conversation. So I explain it just a minute. Yeah, okay. So IP address conservation. Okay. So we have a one public address. Okay, so I explain the normal internet accessing. This is a router. Okay, and the traffic is come here in my switch, and internet come is outside. Okay, and the gateway is 10.1 is a internet accessing. So in this scenario, we have total receiving local IP address because this is my DHCP routers. So they we are receiving the total number of connection 254, and only 254 of router 254 of number of computer accessing the internet. But I want, don't waste the IP address, because we deploy the networks in our offices areas. So we have a total number of four departments, and every department more than 200 of users. Okay, four departments, and every department more than 200 people. So 200 into 4, total 800 of number of users to access the internet. Okay, so the from main switch we have to provide only 24 ports, and total number of IP address public privately 254. So 254 number of directly connected with this router. So 254 access directly internet. Okay, okay. So another one computer unable to be access the internet. So how do we provide all the computer access the internet from main resources? Okay. So in this scenario, we will implement NAT service. One of the configure is a NAT. We will perform this lab. Okay. We configure the NAT. This is a NAT server. So we are configure NAT server on a Linux. We are made basically part of this webinar. Okay. So in server have two ports. Okay. One port is a publicly directly connected with my main switch. Is directly connected with my main switch. So this port receiving the address 10 point anything IP 10.20. 10.20. This is my private private address on my NAT server, and this server is accessing the internet from this from main switch. But another port is available, and this port is transferred traffic connected from another switch. Okay, and in this port, the port uh, the port address is 2.0. Okay, so again total 250 number of person active from single ports from this. Okay, they are uniquely access the own networks, because we have a two network zones in here. The first network zone is 10.1, and second network is 2.0. Okay, so the internet access on this port, not to this port, that is a NAT. So I want to access the internet on this computer. It is happen via NAT service. Okay, so how the IP conservation? So only one from one IP address to access the 254 number of access internet from one single IP in a local area. So security have a extended policies. Okay, so now he wants to try the internet access after NAT implementation. So network routes first go the traffic from 2.1, then 10.1. After that, traffic will go open the google.com. Okay, so that is a NAT. Improve security, yes. If we have a multiple using the NAT, so outside a person unable to know what is exactly IP address of my private server networks. So that is happens after NAT implementations. They access the internet, but this number of computer unable to know who access the internet. Okay. Also, they are unable to know who access the internet. So they are to know he access the internet, particularly this port, because that is a NAT. And the second section 2.0 network is totally safest network zone against separate network zone from outside the user, because that is another level of securities. Better speed, if you apply the NAT, so you will implement the segmentation of the access the internet. So particular traffic for transfer particular one IP, and if the company if that on if that particular day the branch stop, so traffic will not to go another side. So that is a better speed. Flexibility, easily flexibility will implement. No, nothing to be any policies to be bar to implement NAT. Is very flexibility configuration, not to very complex configuration scenarios. Multi-homing like this. This is a one home 2.0 and this is a one home 10.0. There's two homes. You have to apply the multiple homes like multi-homing. Cost saving, yes. The cost saving must cost single from single IP you run the approx thousand of number of user internet access on same time, same situations. That is a cost saving. Easier network administrator, very easily will be configured if you know the how to configure NAT services. Okay. Okay. So before you implement the NAT with the configure DHCP server configuration, DHCP to provide the internet service IP, because you set the manual IP, so it's difficulties, and difficulty like the IP may be conflict, or IP you forget the set the gateway, so you are not to access the internet services. So the first we perform the lab, we have configure the DSP server. To how we perform this NAT server configuration. Okay, so that is a part of commands. Take a snapshot everybody. So first forward the traffic, and we take a two interface, one interface to communicate from internet, and second interface to communicate from private uh, networks. So how they perform? First, I create one of the NAT server. This is server NAT server, and in this NAT server, one is a public address is directly connected, and another is a private address. Okay, so let's start to perform the lab. So I perform this in this. I connect my server. I have already installed CentOS 8. So this I start the machine, and another side I start the client also. This client receive IP address from my NAT server, which I configure DSP server on NAT server. Just login, just a minute. I am performing the lab on CentOS 8. The name is okay. Root password at the rate 123. So look at that. This it is receiving IP address. No, this is not receiving the IP address. Okay. So take as settings, network. Second adapter must be required. Otherwise, it is not to be implement NAT service, because one port listens the public address, public internet, and second port to transfer the network. communicate local network. Okay, so I first configure the IP address. This is a configuration of network configuration of files. Okay, so DHCP is here. Yes, just reboot the machine after receiving the IP address. We require to shut down the machine because need to another one port. The NAT will be applicable. Active this port. Okay. Another things network adapters host only router and start. Okay. Root password internet 123. What is the IP receiving here? IP receiving is 10.44. This is my public address. 10.44. This is the public address. Okay. From this IP, our server receiving the internet. But the second port is not to activate. Okay, we'll do the activate. Okay, so second port, the IP distributed on the client machine. Okay, so uh, 18.44. I connect my machine Excel 44. Okay, the machine is ready now. So VI etc sysconfig network second interface EFCFG-8 to boot proto not device ELP0S8 IPADBR just 70 254 minute marks 254 DNS1. Okay, the boot proto non device boot proto static. Save this and reboot the machine. After that is the IP is successfully saved. Then we'll configure the DHCP server. So which provide the it send the IP address on my DHCP client. Login now. What happened? Yeah, it's logging now. So IP, no, it's not receiving the IP address. What is the issue? ENIS 0S8 is not receiving the IP. So that is issue of is not set to properly IP. So I check cat uh, etc sysconfig. Okay, script 3. Okay. Boot port DCP on boot, yes. Okay. Boot port DCP type Ethernet. Okay. VI etc. Just copy this file and then change to it. CP. It's very easy to copy this file and transfer next. It is FCXZ 8. Okay, so type is input proto static eight IPDDR. This is my IP. DNS1 8.8.8.8. Now once we require the reboot, otherwise the IP will not reflect. That's right. Yes. Yeah, look, the IP is saved here. So I want to access the internet is working here now. So ping 8.8.28 is ping now. So in CentOS required another two file written on this. After that, the window CentOS 8 will be up to date. So you can search um, two files and save on this here. So CentOS update you should try here. If you install the CentOS and after the yum update command you run, then it will not be working. So that is issue is some file is missing. Okay, just two line is copy. Just copy the two lines and paste it. and it will work. Okay, which is now. So yum update, not update is very update is required mandatory, but we don't have a time, so update will not run. So yum nano yum install nano DSCP server net tools. Okay, these are three files required. So one by one install this at one time. This is server installing now. To install, so go to back slides, and this is the just copy this syntax, copy this command, and just I paste on this DSL server configuration. Okay, so nano etc the DCP configuration file, DCPD configurations con. Okay, some mistake here. CD etc. Okay, nano DCP. Okay, so paste it here. And what is my network ID? Is it 70? Just 70. Put 70. That is the range of IP receiving. 70. What is the gateway? Gateway is 70. Okay. So that is a network ID, and save it. One, and restart the DHCP server. It will send the IP address. Okay, it's done now. So just connect on my server, and there is a client. Just reboot the machine. He is receiving the IP address. Okay, so I check it. Just wait few minutes. Okay, so root password. So see the IP address. Look, 70.1. There's the first IP receiving here, and root print root command IP root. What is my gateway? IP root command to check the routing, to check the gateway. This is my network ID, and this is my gateway 70.254. It's my gateway. So I want to ping Google. So Google is ping to reply. Look, okay. The Google is not to ping replying. Okay. So that means the traffic is not reach here. So I want to ping my NAT server public address 10.44. This is ping here. Why the ping here? Because my NAT server sharing two ports, is public and private. So public address is not its actual public address. They are sharing the same ports, same server ports. So it replying the IP address, reply the IP. But when you're trying to google.com, it will not to ping here. Okay, because the traffic is not to route. So but the same things I want to try to another machines to ping is not to ping here, because our NAT server private IP is 10.44 is a ping. I have already I told you the two the server have two same network IP sharing, so that's the reason it's being here. But I want to just I click the Google is not to click being applying, but after NAT server configuration, it will work. System CTL stop. So IP table implement. If you want to apply the IP table, so stop the firewall default firewall service. Okay. So copy this command NAT service. It will work now. So copy. Just a minute. Copy and paste and copy this line and paste. Just a minute. Okay, and save it. And now CYCTL dash P. CYSCTL. Okay, is now just run these commands. Paste. Keep your mind always. The interface ID should be same. Otherwise, the the NAT will not be implemented. Okay, look at that. Uh, the port selection accurate. Otherwise, the NAT policy will not to be implemented. Okay. So before apply this policy, you are correct which is the port forward, which is the port in incoming. Okay. So IP tables save these rules. IP table save now. So next check this IP tables dash NVL. Okay. So traffic is transmission successfully. Look 3639 because ping is applying now. Okay. So go to the server another machines. Look at that. So I want to Google this. Now Google is applying here. So that means my NAT is working now. Okay. And the traffic should reflect is here now 53 and 36. Okay. Everything is to ping after NAT. The look at it, Google is pinging here. So I want to try to yahoo.com .com is ping here. Okay. But another IP will not to ping. Oh, this IP also will ping because root is defined now. So that is the issue. That is the policies. So what you apply the NAT service is totally allow the traffic. But if I try to check the MTR is my trash route. So I install yum install MTR. So MTR is one tool is a trash route of of Linux. Okay, so in Windows is trash route, but in Linux MTR. So I try the 192.168.70.254. It's my NAT gateway. So look at that, only one gateway to ping. 70.1 is my client machine IP, and my gateway address is only one hoops. But I want to MTR try to google.com. So google.com is MTR is this. Look at that. Gateway is my local gate is my gateway. and 10.99 is another gateway. That is multiple hosts will travel the data, but I want to ping in my base machine from my Windows machine, so I will not to ping because that is a NAT. 160 is outside a machine, 70.1 will not to ping because the traffic to reach only for 44, not beyond the 44. Okay, so I want to ping this 10.44, 10.44 my NAT server IP. Understand? That is a NAT. That is another level of securities on your network scenario. Okay, I think so everyone to understand what I am saying now. If you have any query, any questions, so you leave your questions. I will give the answer. I'm very happy you will interact with me via chat in YouTube's. Okay. So thanks. Bye bye all everyone. We'll see you meet later. Bye bye. Thank you.